Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this week's tutorial, we are going to discuss how to build puffy fursuit hand paws. As always, supplies and items needed are in the description below. If you have any questions or think something is missed, please feel free to leave me a comment. Now let's get started with the video. Most of this stuff is sped up, but if you have any questions about a specific process, please feel free to ask below. To start, I will trace out my fingers and cut them out of my black fur fabric here. Of course, depending on what you are making, you can use whatever fur color you desire. I have this hand paw pattern available on my Ko-fi shop if you are interested in purchasing that, as well as I have a free hand paw pattern for a more basic style. I also am working on cutting out the paw pads from black stretch velvet, and I will be starting on machine sewing and appliquing on these paw pads to the flat part of the fingers before sewing anything additional. In order to keep my paw pads in place, I like to baste them down with loose stitching to prevent any puckering, curling, or sliding around while they are run through my machine. You can also use pins or clips for this, but I personally prefer to baste them with thread. Here is what the basting looks like. It is very simple, about 5 stitches, and doesn't take very long at all. Now I will run these through the sewing machine with a basic straight stitch followed by a zigzag stitch to finish it off. Here is the result. Now all you need to do is trim any threads and basting off of the paw pad before we will look to trimming the excess velvet fabric before we applique. And I do apologize, I don't seem to have video of me appliquing the paw pads, but basically what I do for this is I will go back over my straight stitch on the sewing machine using a tight zigzag pattern to finish off the edges so threads don't get exposed or the raw edge of the velvet fabric isn't seen. Now I move on to cutting the tops of the fingers using the sort of half sphere but with a V cut into it so that I can create a slight curve to the tops of the fingers, as well as I use this space to sew in my claws. So cut this out of your desired fabric, as well as trace the base of your palms. I cut 4 pieces in total and trim those out of the fabric. This process here is the same for the palm portion of the paw pad. I cut out a large square of velvet, trace on the palm paw pad pattern, baste it in, and then I will sew. Here is the result of the straight stitch going on. Just need to trim the threads and the fabric. Additionally, you can cut out any markings and sew in fur that you might have on any other portion of your hand paw as such. For these hands, as you can see, they are pretty complicated, so there is a lot to sew before I go into adding any liner or sewing the actual hand paws together. I know I have discussed in many previous tutorial videos about hand sewing as well as machine sewing, so this process will be pretty sped up and light on information, but with markings like these, again, I will hand sew everything, and sometimes twice if it is a marking small enough that I don't run it through the machine, like the purple circles at the top of the palm. This is the result so far of just sewing in the purple fur to the back. Now I will continue on with the lines in rainbow coloring until I have completely sewn in all markings on the hand paws. Depending on how much your fur has warped or stretched, you may want to consider adding some form of stabilizer to the back. I especially recommend this if you do not machine sew any portion of your hand paw. Once you're done, it is time to line the hand paws. For this, I did a zigzag stitch with a stretch lycra material in the general shape of the hand paw, and I will hand sew the fingers together. Once you have your lining sewn to the tips of the fingers, you can flip them and check that they fit okay. But after that, you can add and sew the liner to both sides of the palms. I add the second half of the palm after I sew in the liner, as you can see in the time-lapse video below. I do apologize, I didn't really get good video of me actually sewing the fingers, and I realize that now. But basically the process is the same for everything. Flip so right sides are inside, and just match like side to like side and sew. For the liner, I do machine sew it, so I just do some simple basting stitches so that the liner doesn't move when I run it through the machine, and so I can make sure that the fit is adequate on both sides and there's no puckering or pulling or loose material. I also will sew the bottoms of the fingers to the palm that I sewed the liner to. That way everything is sewn and sealed up. Here you can see the results of the hand-stitched portion, and now it is time to run everything through the machine. This is a very tedious and slow process, but it is well worth it, and it does increase the resiliency of the hand paw. I do apologize as I did not record the sewing process of this. Well, I did, but it got blocked by the very large hand paw. But once you are done, you can then add some padding into the back portion of the hand paw where the liner will be at. I didn't get this recorded with my previous black hand paws, so I am showing you footage from making green hand paws. Basically what you do is you grab some stuffing, put it between the fur backing and the liner material so that it is inside the paw, and when we add the liner to the hand paw and seal and add the cuff to the hand paw and seal the liner in the cuff, none of the padding will move or get pulled out, and it'll create a nice puffed up shape. This is also the time that you want to stuff your fingers if you are choosing to do a extremely puffy style hand paw like I am. I usually will overstuff my fingers and leave the stuffing in the back of the hand pretty loose. I don't have any problems with anything coming loose or falling out because they are so overstuffed. So do this to your desired poofiness, and then we will move on to sewing and finishing off the hand paw with the cuff. And in my usual fashion, I will sew this off first with a quick hand stitch before I will run this back into the sewing machine to give it a nice final and sturdy stitch. And here you have the results of the hand paws. Again, I do apologize for not getting every single footage. I will work on getting that a little bit better next time, but hopefully my verbal explanations were adequate enough. If you have any questions, of course leave me a comment and I am happy to explain in detail or a little bit further if needed. For now guys though, that is all. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned next week for another video. As always, if you want to keep up with me on social media, you can find me on TikTok and Instagram under the same username, Kemono Dungeon. Be sure to follow me there for daily updates and fun little shenanigans, as well as regular work in progress updates, and to keep up with commissions and openings. But thanks so much for watching guys. Be sure to like and subscribe, and that's all for now. Catch you next week. Bye bye.